Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jennifer Slackman with Edgenuity. Thank you so much for joining us, especially at the end of the school year in what we know is a very busy time for you all. We so appreciate you being here for our Profile and Blended Learning series that we've been running. This is our 4th series, and we're very excited to introduce you to the work that the Tift County schools are doing with online and blended learning. You'll hear from 2 wonderful educators in just a few minutes about their experiences with online and virtual learning. Before we get started, just want to go over a few administrative details with all of you. First, I'm assuming you all can hear me and that I'm not talking to myself. So that's the first thing to get out of the way. If you could just type hello in the questions or chat box, that would let me know I'm not talking to myself. That would be great. And looks like you all can hear me, so that is wonderful news. That's always the first step. You all are on mute as a way to eliminate background noises and bells and students coming into offices. We do put you all on mute with such a large group. You will have an opportunity, though, to ask questions of our presenters. There is a question box, which you all have found for those of you who have said hello. There's a question box, there's a chat box within the tool for the GoToMeeting toolbar. We do absolutely encourage you to ask questions when you have those. We'll probably take questions at the end of the presentation, but please feel free to type those questions as you have them. I also wanted to let you know that we are recording this session, and we will send out a link to the recording in just a day or so. When we send out that link, it will also have a recording to the previous sessions that we've done. So if you have time and want to take a listen to those, there's lots of great examples of what's happening in online and blended learning that has been shared around the country through this series. So without further ado, I am going to get started. I just want to make a few points about online and blended learning before I introduce our wonderful speakers. And we really are so excited by the changes that we are seeing in online and blended learning across the country in different schools and districts. And there's lots of different ways that schools and districts are approaching how and when and why to use online and blended learning. And we're going to share one perspective with you all today, and we're happy to continue the conversation in a variety of ways as your school and district is looking to implement or expand an online and blended learning program. One of the points I want to make about why online and blended is such an appealing offer for students is the flexibility that it really offers for learning. And if you think about learning over in the traditional classroom, time is really what's held fixed. We have 180 days of school. You meet 5 days a week. Our periods might be 45 minutes long. And every day, we have to move on to the next lesson because Monday's lesson has ended. It's time for Tuesday's lesson. And what winds up being the variable oftentimes is learning. Sometimes there's just not opportunities for kids to work at their own pace or to get the chance to catch up or to spend a little bit more time learning a particular skill or concept that they might be struggling with. Time just keeps on moving in a traditional classroom. But in a blended classroom, in an online learning environment, in a virtual learning environment, learning is what's held fixed. We're actually able to allow all students to learn to their potential because time is going to vary. There might be students that are working way ahead, and we're encouraging them to work at a faster pace. And there might be students that need to spend way more time learning a particular skill or concept. They need to spend more time in the lesson, and we can allow them to have that flexibility in online and blended learning. So one of the great things about online, blended, and virtual learning is it really gives students more flexibility to meet their specific academic needs, whether that's in the classroom or outside of the school day. In reality, blended is just a strategy for helping your teachers do what they try to do every single day to help students be successful. And blended is just another tool in the very large toolkit that teachers have to help their students be successful. We're very excited to see more and more schools and districts embracing this idea of blended learning, of using both online curriculum and face-to-face instruction as a way to meet the needs of their students. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to the 2 wonderful educators who have agreed to share their experience from Tift County Schools. I'm joined by Dana Spurlin, who's the Instructional Technology Director, and Brandelyn House, who is the Online Learning Coordinator for the district. They're going to share their experiences in their school. They have a lot of exciting initiatives happening, and they're going to take us through what is happening in their district. Dana, I've gone ahead and made you presenter, so you can go ahead and share your screen. We are seeing your presenter view, so I think you're going to want to just change this so we can just, there we go, perfect. And I'll let Dana take it away, Dana and Brandelyn take it away. And as a reminder for all of you, please do keep those questions coming. We'll take questions at the end. Dana, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Good afternoon, everyone. I really appreciate everything that you just said, Jennifer, because I think that was a perfect introduction to our presentation. What you talked about is exactly what we want to share with you that we have done in Tift County and how we have made both of those, both online and blended learning, work for our students. So that's what we want to take you through. Before I get started, I want to tell you a little bit about Tift County. We are located in South Central Georgia, and we are about 60 miles north of the Florida line. So for those of you that have traveled, say, to Disney World down I-75, you've been straight through Tift County, and Tifton is the county seat of Tift County. And we are approximately 2 to 3 hours from just about anywhere. We can get to Atlanta, to the Atlantic Ocean, we can get to the Gulf of Mexico, out in about 2 to 3 hours. So that's where we are located. We serve about 7,800 students in grades pre-K through 12. And currently we have an extremely strange grade configuration in our schools. We have one school that is just pre-K. We have 4 schools that serve kindergarten through 3rd grade. We have 2 schools that serve grades 4 and 5. 1 school that serves grades K through 5. We have 1 6th grade only school, 1 7th and 8th grade only school, 1 9th grade only school, and 1 10 through 12 school. We also have an alternative school. Currently, all students that attend Tift County schools from pre-K through 12th grade will attend 7 different schools. And we currently have a grade realignment plan underway so that all students will now only attend 3 schools. They will either be all pre-K through 5 schools, 6 through 8, or 9 through 12. And plans are for that to be implemented during the 2018-2019 school year. We have also been recently approved, or an application has recently been approved for us to become a charter system. And that will begin with the 2016-17 school year. So we're very excited about the opportunities that lie ahead for us with that. One of our major goals was to be able to provide personalized learning for our students. And we've been working on the implementation of these 2 programs in order to meet this goal, and that's what we're planning to share with you today. Through the use of Edgenuity and other online resources, we've implemented blended learning in 3 of our buildings, and I'm really going to focus on the success at one of those buildings. We've also implemented virtual and online learning to provide an alternative to traditional brick and mortar. We're providing opportunities for homeschool students, private school students, or other students so that they can take advantage of resources that our public school system has to offer. I'm going to start by sharing our blended learning implementation, and then Brandelyn House, our online learning coordinator, is going to finish up by discussing the virtual learning program from its conception to where we currently are in the development of that. So I'm going to start out talking to you about blended learning. And when you look at the definition from the Clayton Christensen Institute, you'll see that the 3 components of blended learning are, number 1, that at least in part through online learning with some element of student control over time, place, path, and or pace. At least in part, it's in a supervised brick and mortar location away from home, and the modalities along each student's learning path within a course or subject are connected to provide an integrated learning experience. And we wanted to see how we could expand on our current learning environment by strengthening our classrooms with their content and delivery. So where did we start with this? During the 2013-14 school year, we did lots of research and lots of evaluations of several online programs. we landed on Edgenuity because that best fit our need. Just so that you will know, our alternative school that I mentioned earlier, they actually use Odysseyware as the curriculum in that school, but we are moving to using Edgenuity in that building next year, so there will be consistency throughout our buildings. So we decided to go with Edgenuity for not just for online content, but for blended learning as well. And we started that very first year by looking at our students that did not pass our state standardized test, which at that time was the CRCT. And we created customized courses for a 20-day remediation period for those students. And as soon as our teachers participated in that training, then they were hooked from the beginning for how much they saw the quality of the content, the ease of the management of Edgenuity. And so from then on, that's where we decided we wanted to go. Excuse me, let me back up. We also had a desire that came from that for our middle school students to be able to earn high school credits through the use of Edgenuity in their classrooms. So during the 14-15 school year, we implemented Edgenuity in 3 of our buildings. One is J.P. Reddick School, that's our 6th grade school, 8th Street Middle School, which is our 7-8 school, and then Northeast Campus, Tift County High School, which is our 9th grade school. And each of these locations had a totally different model for implementation and a totally different level of implementation. During that first year, we faced many challenges. We had varying levels of teacher and administrator buy-in. Skills of the users were the range of usage and their abilities was all over the place. We had several teachers and administrators that were very reluctant to change. As always, availability of technology was a challenge, and I think more than anything, our infrastructure was a challenge because we were wanting students to be able to do things with laptops and taking them in various places throughout the building, but our wireless access at that point was slim to none. So we wanted to provide our teachers with as much support as we could. We had the online learning program, but the need for additional training and resources was our main focus. So Edgenuity approached us about a blended learning coaching opportunity, and we thought that this was the perfect fit for our implementation. So during the 14-15 school year, our coaches, Stacey Hawthorne and Adrian Bogans, and I cannot give them enough credit, they came on board, and during that year, they visited each school 3 times throughout the school year, and we would spend an entire day at the school on a variety of training scenarios. Not only did we look at just using Edgenuity, but we looked at other tools that our teachers could use just so that they would have a whole tool belt of resources for use in their classroom. And we wanted to see, in year 2, we wanted to see an increase in the training opportunities for by our coaches. So we made the decision to make grades 7 through 9 with our main focus. We found that our teachers at grade 6 weren't quite where we needed them to be yet, and our primary focus was, as I told you, I was going to talk about 8th Street Middle School today, so that's where our primary focus was. At 8th Street Middle School, we had 100% support by the administration. If you ever have the opportunity to see the video about the shirtless dancing guy, that is the principal at 8th Street Middle School. He is our shirtless dancing guy. So go and Google the shirtless dancing guy when you leave here today so that you can see, not really him, but that's our version. Our coaching model for teachers was that we wanted to target our teachers that were fully blended, but we also wanted to support the other teachers because this coming school year, every teacher, the expectation is there that every teacher will do some sort of blended instruction in their classroom. We wanted constant dialogue with our teachers. We set up Google Classrooms. We encouraged teachers to use Twitter, to email, to use anything so that we would have constant communication, not just with the coaches and myself, but within the school. We wanted them to share successes, and we also wanted them to share failures so that we can learn from all of those experiences. We also wanted to make sure that we recognized that new blended teachers needed lots of time to experiment, to learn, and grow, because it's not something that's just gonna come overnight. They're gonna have to, really test the waters on all of this, and we wanted to make sure to provide those opportunities for them. As I said earlier, one of our biggest challenges was wireless access, so we increased our access by adding a wireless access point in every classroom. We also increased excuse me, the number of devices for our students to be able to use during this time, and we will continue to add to that during next school year. And we've also encouraged the Bring Your Own Device program for our students. And this year, we became a Google Apps for Education system. So we've implemented a lot of the tools and resources available to our teachers within Google to help support additional ways for implementing blended learning in their schools. So for year 2, this current school year, we have one school, 8th Street Middle School, that has one blended team at each grade level in the core content areas. So they have a language arts, math, science, and social studies teacher that does their blended learning. We also have blended learning that takes place in some other content areas where students are earning high school credit in their regular middle school classrooms. As I said earlier, some of our other school teachers were still reluctant to fully embrace, so our main focus has been 8th Street Middle School. To highlight some of the successes that we've had, last school year, we were able to award 435 high school credits to just over 200 middle school students, and they earned those credits in basic agriculture, art, physical science, and Spanish 1 and 2. And about 95% of these credits were earned because of the blended learning approach with Edgenuity in the classroom. This year, for 2015-16, we are on target to increase that number to approximately 600 high school credits, and we've also increased the number of students that will be earning those credits to just over 300. And again, that's because of that blended learning approach. What are our plans for next year with 8th Street Middle School? As I said earlier, there is the expectation that all teachers at the school will implement blended learning in some way or another. We're going to continue with 2 teams that are completely blended that we'll focus on, with the possibility of adding some additional teams. And understand that 8th Street Middle School is different from your traditional middle school, that we don't have the traditional middle school teams, so you don't have the core group of teachers that share the same students. And these blended teachers express the desire to have a traditional middle school team for their blended students. They just felt like it would work out better in order to do that. So as I said, we had 100% support from our administrator in that building, so he has agreed that for those blended teams that they can have that traditional middle school team and share those students. Because it was very difficult when you had a student that may only have one blended class and then other students that may have all 4 of their classes in that blended. We're also going to increase the offerings for high school credit, and the 8th Street is under, their computers are under a lease, so every single core content classroom at 8th Street will get 20 laptops in there for next year, which will significantly increase their access or the ability to implement blended in those rooms. So that's pretty much a highlight of what's going on with blended at 8th Street Middle School and in Tift County. So I'm going to turn it over to Brandelyn now to talk to you about our Tift Academy and our online virtual school.
Good afternoon, guys. So I'm over all of our online classes and the courses that students take for credit, whether it be in a lab setting or off campus. Our off-campus program is called Tift Academy. So why did we need a virtual option for students to obtain credits? We needed the flexibility. We're on a block schedule, so we often get students that come from a 7-day period. It is very hard to transition those students without them losing credit when they come from a school that has a 7-day period. We have a lot of students that have a lot of interest in taking AP courses on campus, and so in order to make room in their schedules for those AP courses so that they can get those upper level courses for their college applications, online learning is a great way for them to make room in their schedule for those AP courses. For instance, if you have a child that also wants to take band or chorus, or might be a football player, and so they need a weight training, that takes up a lot of their schedule. If they're allowed to take an online course off campus and can go at their own pace, that puts in room for that AP course. As I mentioned before, if you've got a student that participates in a sport, maybe that sport is not necessarily a school-sanctioned sport. Maybe they're in some type of travel league, or perhaps they take a particular interest in ballet or some other extracurricular activity, and that activity takes up a lot of their afternoon time. We have the ability and the flexibility now to offer them an online virtual course that they can do when they have time after they have participated in their practice or traveled to their game, and so it gives them a lot more flexibility in their schedule as well. Another reason that we needed it was for retention. Move On When Ready is big in the state of Georgia, and it's getting bigger every year. And so with our Move On When Ready students, often they'll take college classes and not really want to come back to campus. So this gives them the flexibility to set their college course schedules as needed, and then not have to worry about scheduling that around campus courses, depending on what they need for that year. This is for summer credits. So a student, for instance, this summer we have about 100 kids that are going to take a class over the summer. Most of them are trying to complete their foreign languages, so that when they get their schedules for next year, that makes room for other offerings, whether it be another online class, an AP course, maybe a college course as well. Another reason that we wanted to go with a virtual option was it's one of the provisions of our charter application. Okay, so what obstacles did we face in trying to implement a virtual program? Principal buy-in. Our administrators, these kids are taking these credits, so they wanted to know, was Edgenuity something that was rigorous? Was it comparable to what they get in the classroom? What we have found this year and in the previous years is that if a student successfully completes the course and has been in the course throughout the year and then takes our end-of-course test or a final exam, the score that they get on that end-of-course test or final exam is within a point or so of the score that they earn in the course. So we have convinced our administrators that, yes, this is definitely comparable to what they would get in the classroom. Parent buy-in has been a big hurdle for us because this is a generation of parents that did not grow up in a technological world. So we did a lot to show them previews of the program. We have publicized some data so that they can see that it is comparable to what they would get in the classroom. A lot of parents have found a lot of time and not necessarily go head first, so that it's not a good fit, something easily fixed. Student buy-in has not been quite as hard. Students are pretty eager to have that flexibility. There have been a few students that perhaps were a little hesitant, but as their friends have caught on and as more and more students have joined our program, it's pretty much caught like wildfire with the students. They all get really excited. The lists get larger and larger each year that we do it. And in fact, we're at a point now where we have so I would not be shocked if we met that cap for several of our schools. Several of the other obstacles that we have faced are determining the expectations of the schools. What I mean by that is, you know, this is a program of our schools, so it's been a task to figure out what the student does as far as what belongs to the school and what actually belongs to the program itself. Who coordinates, make sure that the child gets the guidance that they still need in their guidance statement, counselor, who makes sure the child has access to their study guides for their state exams, who coordinates, you know, any interaction that child has with that school. And so that has been one thing that we have struggled with, and finally think we have it figured out. The other is determining the expectations of the students. So one of the big paradigm shifts for a student is that independence. And so we have some students that they get in there, they know exactly what to do, in there very quickly. They need a little jolt after they get in. It's a good fit for that student, but they've never done anything like this before. They've never been given the ability to make their own choices about a course. And so sometimes they get in and they need a little meeting after they've gotten in to let them know, hey, we're really checking this, and you really have to do your work, and you really have to put in the hours to earn your credit. That is very well impacted by parental support. One of the things that we do for any of our online students that are taking a course 100% virtually is we require that the parents sign up for weekly reports so that they know exactly how much their child accomplished that week, how long they worked in the course, if they logged in and just let it sit there idle. The students whose parents check those often are the students that excel. And so it's typically your parents that are very involved that children accelerate. On the flip side of that, we do have students that are completely motivated on their own and don't have to have that. But that does provide a good balance. Student selection has been another thing for us, determining whether or not we feel a student would be successful. It's not enough to look at a child's grades and look at their attendance to determine if they would be successful in an online class. Perhaps that child has an anxiety issue and can't go to class, and maybe that's why their grades are so low and why their attendance is so poor. So what we have done is we've developed an application process, and the child goes online or the parent and fills out the application. The application asks all kinds of questions from, you know, what were your grades like, to if you've ever had any major discipline issues. And then we have a sit-down meeting with that child's counselor, and we talk about why the child wants to take the online course. If the counselor feels like it's a good fit for the child, we feel like the counselors know the kids the best, because the counselor may be aware of all of those issues. And so typically, as long as a child doesn't have any major discipline issues or any other red flags, we typically allow them at least a trial version to see if we feel like they're going to be successful. So we created the application. Application process, they go through, they have a deadline to each semester to when they can put in their application, and then it goes to the counselor. The counselor schedules a meeting with myself and the child and the parent, and we meet, and if we approve the child, then it goes on to the principal, and the principal can approve or deny the child. If at any point the child is denied, they can appeal to a panel we have put together at our central office, and so that panel goes back through and reviews the situation to see if the child a chance. Communication procedures are pretty basic. The child has to meet with myself at least 3 times during the semester, just a face-to-face check, to be sure that there are no questions, that there's nothing going on, because a child can be in an online class and everything can appear just fine. They can be progressing at the rate that they should, their grades can be where they should, and then there might be something going on that you're not aware of because you're not seeing that child in a classroom in that traditional brick and mortar setting. So they do have to come for that. They have to come to campus for a cumulative exam, and if they have a state exam, they have to come on campus for that. And they sign a contract at the beginning of the semester that says that they are aware that there are some times that they have to come on campus. One of the other obstacles we've had is the public understanding of terminology. A lot of parents don't understand the difference between blended learning and online learning. And so in our parent meetings that we hold, we often try to explain the difference, make sure that they don't use the words interchangeably because they don't mean the same thing. So for students that we find that are unsuccessful, we have a monitoring process. We check their progress weekly to make sure that they are on pace and that their grades are where they should be. We have checkpoints throughout the semester. If the child is not where they should be and they continue to progress at a slow rate, we pull them in, have a meeting with them and their parents. If it continues, then we pull them back in and put them in a lab so that a teacher can help get them back on track. One of the biggest obstacles has been creating a handbook for the online students because there are so many things to consider, from how these kids are treated in comparison to their peers. And what I mean by that is typically, or especially in high school, with your seniors. In high schools, often grades are pulled at a specific time, and you have your student information system that that's pulled from. With the program that we use, Edgenuity, it's a little different in that those grades don't go in until the end, and so we had to develop some procedures for reporting those to the registrar for awards and different honors and things like that. We also needed to make sure that it was clear to students that when they came on campus, they were to adhere to the same policies and procedures as other students. So we are now, we were finishing up year 3 and going into year 4. In our first year, we allowed students at our 7th and 8th grade school, our 9th grade school, and our 10th through 12th school to take courses in lab settings with either a teacher or a lab facilitator on campus. In year 2, we had 3 students that took 100% of their courses virtually. These were students that were identified as high-risk students. They had something going on that they wouldn't be able to graduate. We're all seniors. Had they not been allowed the opportunity to take an online class, they were identified by their counselors, and then continued that year. In year 3, this year that we are finishing up, those semesters, we've had about 25 students that have been identified from counselors for having a need for an online course. These students have ranged from 7th grade to 12th grade, and for whatever reason, they needed an online course. Had a medical condition. It might have been that they had a travel sport and needed that flexibility in their schedule, and so they were recommended by their counselor this year. In our upcoming year, for next year, we have opened it up to the application process, and we are currently still getting applications for our virtual offerings, and it is open for students 7th through 11th grade. And they apply in whatever school they are currently in. So if they are in the 7th grade one school, they apply at that school online, so that that faculty that knows them would be the ones that would recommend and approve them for the following. When we talk about a Tift Academy student, so we have labs where we have credit attainment going on, but we do not consider that part of the Tift Academy program. The labs that are on the school are subject to the same rules as that school. But if a child is taking 2 or more online off-campus classes, or they are taking a Move On When Ready schedule, and what they take from us is 100% virtual, they are considered a Tift Academy student and they are subject to our rules. So here I have 4 examples for you. Student A takes 4 courses online off campus. They are a Tift Academy student. Student B takes 3 courses online off campus and takes band on campus. And one of the stipulations that we have with our Tift Academy students is that if they would like to participate in an extracurricular activity, they do have to take 1 on-campus class so that we can make sure that they are able to interact with their peers. Typically, in a lot of our extracurriculars, there's a class that goes along with it. Student C takes 2 courses online off campus and takes biology and U.S. history on campus. And then student C takes 3 courses from one of our colleges and takes 1 online off-campus course. And those are all Tift Academy students. So the expectations for our students that are Tift Academy students, students are required to work independently and remain on pace. They are required to meet with me and the online learning coordinator 3 to 4 times during the semester. That can vary. If the student is doing really well, and I happen to see them when they come in for a guidance counselor session to possibly plan their schedule for the following year or something like that, they may meet less. If they are a student that needs that face-to-face interaction, they may meet with me more during the semester, and they can request meetings with myself or their counselor throughout the semester. Because it's a program, they are still part of their school, and they are allowed to come on campus to meet with their counselor. They're allowed to use the library facilities or the media center facilities. So they are treated just like any other student. They're required to report to campus for final exams and state exams. For final exams, we try to, as they get to the final exam, go ahead and test them. We don't make them wait till the end of the semester. They do sit with the general administration of any state exams. They are required to attend mandatory advisement sessions. Those vary by grade based on what they need per grade level. In some grades they need more, in some grades they need less, depending on what the academic planning is for that grade. And parents, of course, are encouraged to supervise student activity and monitor progress. We do make, as I said before, we do make them all sign up for a weekly progress report, but we do also going through the parent portal that Edgenuity has and try to teach them how to use that and give them the handouts so that they can more actively monitor and don't have to wait on their progress each week. This is just a breakdown of our application procedure where the student puts in the request. They meet with their counselor. The counselor approves, and the counselor typically calls me and talks to me. At this point, because we don't have quite such a large quantity of students, the counselor is talking with me before they put them in the program. The counselor takes it to the principal, and if the principal approves, it goes to me to meet with them and put them in the program and put them in their schedule. If for some reason or at any point the child is denied in this application procedure, then the parent is to appeal within 10 days, and that appeal has to be in writing, and then it's submitted to our central office panel. And that is our Tift Academy program. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about our system.
Dana and Brandelyn, thank you both so much for sharing all that great information. There already has been a ton of questions that have come in, so I'm going to start taking those in just a second. I want to remind everyone that if you have questions, please type those into the question box there in the GoToMeeting toolbar. But let's start off with this question. Dana, I'm sort of consolidating a few questions for you, but people are curious what the class period looks like in the blended learning model, particularly at the middle school that you were speaking of. Are the kids on the computers every day, every other day? Are they rotating? What does it look like in the classroom when they're having this blended learning experience?
It can look different in every classroom. I would say at some point every day in the classroom they're on a computer. Sometimes the teachers take the students to a lab setting. All of our blended classrooms have a cart of laptops in the room, so it very well may just happen in that classroom. So it just depends on what activity that teacher has, because as I said, in their classrooms they're not using Edgenuity for their content every single day. They're incorporating other technology tools in with their instructions. So it could be anything. It could be some days that they're just using maybe their phone with a lesson that the teacher has planned around that.
Okay. And staying with the blended learning model, are the students in A Street Middle School high performers? Are there special education students and English language learners within that population? What's the population of students that are participating in blended learning, and are there accommodations made? How is it working with your student population?
Currently, any student that is at 8th Street Middle School could possibly be in one of those blended classrooms, with the exception of possibly our severe and profound special ed students. But yes, there are special ed students in there. We have a fairly high population of English language learner students in our system. And as I said, we just have one teacher in each content area at each grade level, but there are a total of a little over 1,200 students at 8th Street. So, you know, if you figure a class of 25, we're looking at approximately 100 kids per grade level that are, well, no more than that, a minimum of 100 or to 200 per grade level that are participating in these, and they cover all ranges of abilities, all walks of life.
Okay, great. So I'm going to shift gears just a little bit back to the Tift Academy program, and there's been some questions around the staff for this program in terms of teachers. Do the students, are the teachers in the district? Are the teachers virtual? Do the kids ever interact with the teachers? How do they communicate with the teachers? Do they ever see the teachers face-to-face? Lots of questions around how the students are interacting with the teachers and any other facilitators that make up the online, the virtual program.
The kids that take online classes on campus are assigned to a facilitator or a teacher, and that person is the contact for them to, if they have a specific subject area that teacher does not cover, then they put them in contact with the proper teacher at that building. For students that are off campus and are virtual, I am the sole point of contact for them to begin with. And then if a course that they take has manual grading, or they require tutoring, or just need some clarification, we have a help desk ticket system. The student puts in a ticket, and I set them up with the teacher. Generally, it's a 24-hour turnaround time, and so they are teachers within our district that are contracted outside of their normal workday to work with these students.
Great. And Brandelyn, are you the only online learning coordinator for the district?
I'm it.
Okay. And it's a full-time position, right, at the district?
It is a full-time position for the district.
Okay. And if you don't mind sharing, someone is interested, do you have a counseling background, a teaching or administrator background? What's your background?
So I'm a teacher. In my background, I taught online classes for technical college prior to working for the school system. And then I worked for a large school system south of us prior to that.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. There were some questions around seat time requirements. Is there anything specific in Georgia that you have to contend with in terms of seat time requirements? And if there is, how do you work with that within both the blended program and the virtual program?
So we have seat time waivers.
We've applied to the state for waivers for meeting those requirements, and those are all, you know, everything's been filed properly for that requirement.
Okay, great. There's been a number of questions that have come in regarding what you're willing to share. It sounds like your application and your handbook have really resonated with folks. I'll let that sit with you in terms of whether or not you'd be comfortable sharing that. I do want to point out to the participants that both Dana and Brandelyn's email addresses are up on the screen right now, and I'm assuming that means that both of you are willing to be contacted for additional questions. And if folks want to continue the conversation, is that okay if they get in touch with both of you with additional questions?
That's absolutely fine.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, great. And let's see. Could you share some of the other technology and resources that are being used in the blended classroom?
Actually, one of the things that we've done, and I can point everybody to this if they would like to see it, on our website, we kind of developed a page for our teachers, and it does need a lot of work, so that's one of my tasks for the summer. But if you can just bear with me just 1 second. Can you see my screen right now?
We can.
Okay. On our website, under departments, and as I said, it's very rough right now. I've got lots of work to do with it over the summer, but I just want to share with you some of the things that we've done. Under information technology, and then under instructional technology, we have a page dedicated to blended learning. And if you look down under the resources and under the tools, those are some of the training opportunities that we've provided to our teachers, and those are some of the tools that we are encouraging them to use on a regular basis in their classroom.
That's great. And again, your website is tiftschools.com, right, for folks to find that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. And if you could, I'm just going to put back, if you could just put back up your email addresses for the folks that were writing that down, that would be super helpful. Let me see. When you do any work around customizing courses, whether that's for how they're being used in the classroom or if you're using courses for more remediation, does the customization work happen at the teacher level? Is it more a curriculum level, a district level, school building level? What are some of the permissions and sort of policies that you've set around customizing?
Generally, our teachers are the ones that customize the courses because they're the ones that know the content. They know, the standards that are expected to be taught with that course, but they do that with the guidance of our curriculum staff from the district level. So we may have, at the high school level, we may have the person that's the department chair working on the customization of courses, and maybe with the assistance of some other teachers in that particular content area. But yes, all of our customization is done by the teachers.
Okay, great. So I think I have gotten to all the questions. These have been such great questions. I appreciate everyone's questions and input. I will keep the question panel open for just a few minutes longer, so if you think of something, please do feel free to type in a question. I do want to provide a reminder that we'll send out a link to the recording of this session in just a day or so. You'll also find recordings of the previous sessions that we've held for our Profiles in Blended Learning series. We will be taking a summer break for June, July, and August, but we'll resume our series back in September to share other perspectives about online and blended learning. So be on the lookout for information about that. But most importantly, I want to thank Dana and Brandelyn for their time, for sharing all this information, and of course for the incredible work that they're doing and the incredible opportunities that they're offering their students in their schools. Very exciting in terms of the engagement that's offered for students, and as well the flexibility to meet the varying needs of students. So I've put back up Dana and Brandelyn's email addresses. They are open to being contacted to continue the conversation, and we certainly encourage you to do so. I don't see any other questions, so Dana or Brandelyn, any final thoughts from either of you?
Jennifer, I'd just like to thank you for this opportunity to let us share some of the successes that we have had in Tift County with blended and online learning. And I would like to extend the invitation if anyone is interested in visiting Tift County to see what's happening the great things that we're doing in our schools, you're more than welcome to. So we'd love to hear from you, and we'd welcome you to come and visit.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And again, thanks to everyone for taking time out of what we know are very busy schedules to join us today. We look forward to continuing the conversation in the months to come. And again, Dana and Brandelyn, thank you so much for your time. Hope everyone has a great afternoon and a great end of the school year. Thanks so much. Take care.